After a lifetime of working, raising families and contributing to the success of the nation in countless ways, either in the public or civil service, people in this category, popularly known as senior citizens, deserve to retire with fulfillment and dignity. These senior citizens who have attained 60 years of age or 35 years in service are usually expected to be paid their gratuities and monthly allowances to enable them cater for themselves. This situation seems not to be norm, as after retirement, they are faced with depression, hardship, and frustration due to non-payment of their entitlements. In Benue State, for instance, arrears of pension allowances and gratuities run into several months for state and local government pensioners. This has led to a series of civil protests and even litigations by pensioners against government. However, the new administration of Governor Hyacinth Alia has taken steps to address challenges of pensioners in the state, with several meetings being held to chart a way forward. On Panorama today, coming to you live from NTA Makurdi Network Center, we will examine the plight of these people and what models should be put in place to end challenges confronting pensioners. I am Susan Omale. First, news of the day. President Bola Tinubu has expressed his appreciation to France for the return of $150 million looted from Nigeria by former head of state General Sani Abacha. Statement by the special advisor to the president, Chief Ajuri Ngelale, says the president acknowledges the signing of a £100 million agreement between Nigeria and France to support the IDICE program, a federal government initiative to promote investment in information and communication. President Tinubu commends the strengthening of bilateral relations between Nigeria and France, noting that this progress follows his visit to Paris after inauguration. The president, while emphasizing the need to reinforce collaboration on both political and economic fronts, welcomes the growing cooperation between the two countries in areas of shared interest such as climate change, economic integration, education, and culture. On the situation in Niger Republic, President Tinubu, who is the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, says Nigeria is monitoring the situation in the neighboring country and exploring diplomatic channels to avoid bloodshed. The French Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs conveyed the goodwill of President Emmanuel Macron and expressed the readiness of France to expand mutuality, beneficial collaboration with Nigeria across multiple sectors. A new momentum has been set for government at the national level as ministers and permanent secretaries have agreed to a performance bond to fast-track growth and development of Nigeria. It was at the closing of the 3-day cabinet retreat for ministers, presidential aides and permanent secretaries held at the State House Conference Hall, Abuja. State House correspondent Musbao Dan Wahab reports.
It's been 3 days of training, sectoral analysis, and knowledge sharing on how to inject new dynamics in governance and service to the nation. As it is emerging, there are new standards that the current administration would not compromise. There also are mechanisms to track the progress of delivery. The gains of the mechanisms were projected to include enhanced accountability, improve efficiency, ensure faster implementation, and align with presidential priorities, among others.
We need to have our citizens being part of monitoring what we do. So it's an important app that we're going to ensure it has wide coverage and every Nigerian is able to tell us where we are.
And the key recommendations and priorities were also rolled out for major sectors.
Evaluate the efficiency of previous federal government intervention programs and conduct proper pre- and post-project assessment to determine the efficacy of the programs.
Now, the ship of government is rearing to go, expectedly at a fast pace, and the helmsman would like to be sure of the readiness of his subordinates.
I want to obtain a promise from you. That promise is that we promise Nigerians that we are going to work for them. Is that true? That we are going to work together as a team? That's correct. And we are going to achieve for this country. We have a responsibility to our country to make sure we change completely the narrative about Nigeria.
But then, as they go about their assignments, President Bola Tinubu emphasizes collaboration and cooperation in the various ministries to end poverty and ensure economic prosperity that the nation and its people so desire.
We must put aside personal ambitions and focus on the progress of our nation. It is through this that we can be truly proud. Yes, we the politicians, we are the soldier go, soldier come. We are the permanent secretaries. But we have to live together. You have no choice.
The ministers and their permanent secretaries agreed to a new standard for delivery as they sign the performance bond. And under this administration, President Tinubu says there shall be no tolerance for below-par performance. From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
More than 4 million insecticidal treated mosquito nets are to be distributed to households in Benue State as a measure in fighting the scourge of malaria. The Director of Global Health Supply Chain Program, Dr. Anne Ogoza, disclosed this during her visit to Governor Hyacinth earlier at the Government House, Makurdi. Elias Itiab reports.
The Malaria Intervention Program, under the sponsorship of the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, and Breakthrough Action Nigeria, is targeted at eradicating new malaria infections in the state. Leader of the team, Dr. Anne Ogoza, said the distribution of the treated mosquito nets will commence in December 2023 and that each household will be given at least 2 mosquito nets, while 14,000 persons are to be engaged for the distribution exercise across the 23 local government areas of the state. Dr. Ogoza added that 1.4 billion naira is required for the implementation of the program and that the state government will contribute 40% as a way of commitment.
These mosquito nets, this will be the 3rd time that USAID is supporting the distribution of nets in Benue State. The first 2 ones had over 3.5 million nets distributed to households. This round, we have over 4 million.
Governor Hyacinth earlier assured the team of his administration's commitment for the success of the program through the payment of counterpart funds and other logistics.
Your work is not only commendable, it is indeed transformative and life-changing for our people in every nook and cranny of the state. With our continued support and partnership, we are confident that we can achieve even greater success in the upcoming ITN campaign.
Governor Alia also hosted the Save the Children International and directed the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, as well as the State Scholarship Board, to place the Girl Child Ambassador and one-day governor, Ms. Rita Shimaga, on scholarship up to tertiary level. In Makurdi, Elias Itiab, NTA News.
We will now after this short break. Please stay with us.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Thank you, Susan. From Makodi Nation, Panorama continues from the headquarters of the Nigerian Television Authority here in Abuja. Minister of Labour and Employment Simon Bako Lalong says the federal government has put mechanisms in place that will help in eradicating quacks out of the Nigerian labour process. This was the minister's message at a 3-day skills development training for participants from across the 19 northern states and the FCT holding in Bauchi. Miriam Bala has details. The report will come in our subsequent bulletin. Federal government is determined to start the implementation of Presidential Steering Committee plans on the Nigerian Safe Schools project. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, gave this indication at the National Summit on Safe Schools put together by the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in Abuja. Dennis Temple completes the report.
Key players in the education sector gathered here to find lasting solutions to end the incessant attacks on school children across the country. Stakeholders underscore the importance of education to national development and outline measures to enhance security, which will ultimately improve the enrollments of students in schools.
The government is resolute in its commitment to curtailing attacks on our schools and eradicating insecurity.
For me, to secure our schools, we must leverage on intelligence, because intelligence makes planning precise and it makes actions quite.
I took a step to conduct a vulnerability survey study where we commissioned some research fellows, and the data revealed was so shocking.
The theme of the summit is tackling and identifying threats to Nigeria's Safe School project.
That as this program continues, I will be able to get the necessary steps to take to ensure that this Safe School project reaches Taraba.
Over 300 participants, including children drawn from selected schools, attended the workshop in Abuja. Dennis Temple, NTA News.
The House of Representatives Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream is set to carry out a comprehensive audit of the petroleum subsidy regime to authenticate the payments made by the federal government and the beneficiaries. Chairman of the committee, Ugochinyere Ikegwanu, made this known at its inaugural sitting. National Assembly correspondent May Tyran Ikpen reports.
Fuel subsidy is gone, with ripple effects on the economy and the masses. But lawmakers are bent on reviewing the subsidy regime and pursuing recovery of unremitted revenues accruing to the federal government in the petroleum sector.
The pre-export financing arrangement and other loan arrangements in exchange for crude will be extensively reviewed and investigated. The direct sale, direct purchase, using the crude to bring in the PMS and other value chain associated with them will also be reviewed.
Meanwhile, more House committees hold inaugural sittings with assurances to enhance the health, welfare and socio-economic well-being of Nigerians across critical sectors.
We are going to push and advocate that malaria drugs be subsidized, if not made free, at all government health centers.
We will engage MDAs under the Federal Ministry of Innovation,
science and technology in discussions about policies, programs, and budgets needed to boost science technology innovation sector in the country.
Whether it is enhancing the airport infrastructure, optimizing air traffic management, or advancing aviation safety protocol, we are committed to creating an enabling environment for the aviation industry.
The census budget and census preparation, they've gone over 80%. So for anyone to say that should just go by the way, it is highly unacceptable.
The various committees promise robust legislative oversight for checks and balances on the activities of government ministries, departments, and agencies. From the National Assembly, Nitaire Ikmen, NTA.
Troops of the Nigerian Army, in synergy with the Department of State Services, DSS, have foiled terrorist attack in Kano. In a statement, Director Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu says a raid operation on a terrorist hideout in the early hours of Friday, 3rd November 2023, apprehended the criminals in Gizawa local government area of Kano State. The Nigerian Armed Forces have also, within the last 7 days, rescued 47 kidnapped victims, eliminated 67 terrorists, while 190 were arrested across the country. A statement by the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, says 57 oil smugglers were also apprehended in the South-South, while 96 illegal refining sites, 106 dugout pits, 111 boats, and 1 vessel recovered. Several weapons were recovered and criminal camps destroyed. We're going back to Susan in Makurdi for the continuation of Panorama.
It is no longer news that pensioners across the country have been grappling with challenges of irregular payment of pension allowances and gratuities, which has taken a toll on them. Governments had taken steps to address it, which has not yielded much positive results. Tena Uma in this report takes a look at the current plight of pensioners in Benue State and the way forward.
Over the years, challenges of pensioners ranging from lack of payment of gratuities to regular pension allowances have continued to be a major challenge to most administrations. This has also made pensioners suffer untold hardship amongst others.
Most of them, they really depend on their sons and daughters. While some who are farmers, they are using farm as a backup for now.
It was difficulties. Most of the people died. Most of the people are now, most of the pensioners are sick. So they do take drugs every week, every day. They died.
Different administrations have tried to address challenges of pensions through constant dialogue, which at times end in crisis. However, the present administration in Benue State has taken proactive steps to tackle challenges faced by pensioners with series of stakeholders meetings and engagements.
We are much better now, the administration of Reverend Father Asaf earlier. This is about 5 months of his. He has paid the monthly.
Analysts opined that though the current administration has taken a step in prompt payment of monthly pension allowances, it should work towards clearing the backlog of arrears.
We should think outside the box and then try to improve on the IGR of the state so as to try to reduce the arrears of the pensioners.
Most of them, they are owing. The 1 month is not enough. It's not enough. But if they can make it 2 months, it will be more encouraging.
The senior citizens are hoping that government will work towards offsetting the backlog of arrears in order to give them a new lease of life. In Makurdi, Tena Uma, NTA News.
Okay, to shed more light on the plight of pensioners in Benue State, I have with me in the studio Mr. Fidelis Nyim. He is the Honorable Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice and Public Order, Benue State. Sir, it's good to have you on Panorama.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's begin. How important are the senior citizens to society?
Yes, thank you. The importance of the senior citizens to the society cannot be emphasized. These are a set of people who have sacrificed their life in working for the state, the present state we have now. They have gone to the trenches, they have worked from day to day to keep the state in status quo to what we have in now. And to me, I refer to them as consultants. Many times that I need support or advice from them, I call them to ask them, during your time, how was this done? So they are actually very, very important to the running of government in Benue State, not only just in Benue State, but in Nigeria at large.
Okay, now you refer to them as consultants. That's very interesting.
Yes.
Some people are of the opinion that they could be engaged as contract staff. How feasible is this?
Such opinion could be too general, because you see some of those senior citizens that I call consultants, depending on their age or retirement, some are very, very old, depending on when they retired, and now that you're meeting them. Now saying that they should be engaged as contract staff, that statement could be very, very sweeping. To my mind, these persons, like I said, I call them consultants, they live among us. What is needed to be done is for government to take care of them so that they will be there, available to give advices when they can. But the system is about provided a situation where they can be engaged in other engagement, not necessarily bringing them back as contract staff. And I will give you an example. If you see some of the commissions, for example, like the Local Government Service Commission, the law provides that experienced senior citizens that have gone through the system should be engaged as commissioners so that they can advise how the local government will work. We have the same thing, the Civil Service Commission. So there are several other ways that can be engaged. The government is also patronizing in politics, wherein they can be appointed as advisors. So not necessarily turning around to engage them as contract staff. That will be the issues.
Okay, you talked about government taking care of these senior citizens. It is no longer news that in Benue State, the pensioners are owed gratuities running in 2 months. Now there's a new government, and you are part of this new government. Now, what is the current situation?
Thank you. Before I talk about what the government is doing about these persons, you asked of the current situation. The government is actually paying their gratuity as at when due. And I make reference to particularly last month when they even received their pensions on the 23rd of the month. As at 1 o'clock, one of the pensioners sent me a text saying that God will actually bless His Excellency, Reverend Father Dr. Hyacinth Yomalia, for taking care of them. But the situation we met on ground is quite very, very important to be mentioned here. I'm not here to tread on a blame game, but the status quo must be explained. At when His Excellency took over the mantle of leadership, we have a situation that pensioners from the state's pensioners were being owed 44 months. The local government pensioners were being owed 96 months, amounting to about 163.7 billion naira, which was supposed to be paid to them. But when His Excellency came on board, and these people were looked as being abandoned, protests were being carried on everywhere, but nobody was answering them. But when His Excellency came on board, he started paying. He started with paying them. First payment was for 2 months, and subsequently paying them regularly. So the situation now is not as bad as it used to be.
Okay, but is there a possibility of clearing these areas?
Yes, very, very wonderful possibilities. And I will give you an example. When His Excellency came in there, we met a situation of mixed data. What do I say we met a situation of mixed data? We have a situation in the state, cases, judgment debts that have been flying around, garnishes that have been flying around. If you check the data, 95 of these cases are coming from the unpaid pensions. And you have a situation where the pensioners aggregate themselves into groups, they are approaching court, they will ask, depending on which of the pension in question. If it's for local government, they'll be asking that their 96 months should be, the court should grant an order compelling the state to pay them their 96 months and their gratuities. Now, when this order is made, the state is only expected to be paying them. Sometimes the court will go ahead to make order for installments payments. So the court is mandated to be paying them installments. And why that is going on? His Excellency came about and made a situation I wanted to pay. If the situation is not well managed, some persons will be collecting twice or thrice because it's collecting by court order and the regular payment. So His Excellency fast forward the payment so that they can work out sort of the data and clear the backlog.
Okay, so there's great news for pensioners in Benue State.
Very, very well.
Thank you so much for coming on Panorama to give us your thoughts concerning what is happening with pensioners in Benue State.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Now let's join Oche Ngbede for more on Sports Update.
We begin with hockey as Nigeria is one win away from automatic qualification for the women's hockey event at the 2024 Paris Olympic Games after they set up a final showdown against old South Africa on Sunday. Nigeria defeated Zimbabwe 2-1 in the quarterfinals before recording a lone goal victory over Kenya on Friday to set the country on the course for another appearance at the Olympics in 20 years. The runners-up in the Sunday's final will have to play an intercontinental playoff match to have any realistic chance of qualifying for the games.
From the board, they know the board tried. They kept them in camp for 2 months and the spirit was high. Even we had some delays here and there, but the motivation was there. The president, Engineer Simon Cobb, gave it all his best. Coaches and the technical team, they're doing their own bit to understudy what happened in the first game, and then we take it to the finals against South Africa. So I think it's going to be more of a tactical game and game mind, and I think we're good to go.
To golf, Justina Kegbe is still basking in her victory after emerging overall winner of the 2023 Nigeria Electricity Supply Industry to the Open Golf Tournament with 44 points and an handicap of 34. The event held at the IBB International Golf and Country Club, Abuja, aimed at fostering unity among staff and the public, had over 120 golfers participating.
Events like this and what we can do to improve on our performance, it will take us Nigerians to give ourselves life.
And finally, to football. 7 games will be decided in the English Premier League as struggling Manchester United go away to Fulham at Craven Cottage. Brentford welcome West Ham. Defending champions Manchester United will slug it out with Bournemouth as second place Arsenal will go away to 6th place Newcastle at the St James Park. With Sports Update, Oche Ngbede, NTA News.
That does it on Panorama for today. Thank you very much for staying with us and have a pleasant weekend.